Cheering, all cheers.
Not a good look, really.
Nope. John, I just. When that issue comes up, I would just. I'm gonna start before we even do anything.
Okay.
I think the mayor, go ahead. He can buy more. All right, looks like we have, all right. Good evening and welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Augusta Historic Preservation Commission. There we go. Let's start over again, folks. Good evening and welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Augusta Historic Preservation Commission. The Historic Preservation Commission hears and makes decisions on applications of certificate of appropriateness, a COA, in accordance with the powers granted under Section 7, Chapter 4 of the Augusta, Georgia Code. I emphasize this next sentence. In making a decision on a COA, the Commission may consider, but shall not be bound by precedent. Each issue shall be decided upon its merits, applying the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the application design guidelines. If a quorum is not present at the regular meeting of the Commission, a special meeting shall be held within 14 calendar days from such scheduled meeting. Any person affected by the Commission's decision may file an appeal with the Augusta Commission. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Commission bylaws, rules of procedure, and the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order. Unless otherwise directed by the majority of the Commission in session at the time, the Commission encourages participation in this hearing, and there is no restriction on who may address the Commission within the allotted time. But the Commission asks the public comments be brief, on subject, and directed to the commission and not individual or group. Ryan, do we have a quorum?
I am seeing all 9 commissioners on the dais, so I believe we have quorum.
We have a quorum. Ryan, we'll take the first case.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. We've got 7 items on the agenda. COA 2522 at 1122 Glen Avenue, COA 2523 at 4 addresses in the 1300 block of Green Street, COA 2524 at 2120 Gardner Street, COA 2525 at 344 Broad Street, COA 2526 at 2511 Bellevue Avenue, COA 2527 at 2557 Central Avenue. That application has been withdrawn from consideration at tonight's meeting. And item 7, COA 2528 at 802 Green Street. We will begin with discussion of COA 2522. This is a petition by Matt Dykes for a certificate of appropriateness at 1122 Glen Avenue, located within the Somerville Historic District. The request is to replace windows and siding on the home. So here you can see some photos of the home on Glen Avenue and some details for the siding and for the windows that will be installed. We'll go back to these as necessary. All right, this is a property situated along the east side of Glen Avenue between Hillcrest and Bellevue Avenue. It features a 2,523 square foot home originally built per property records in 1942. There have been no recent petitions brought to the HPC regarding this property. The petitioner is requesting approval to replace siding and windows on the home. Current siding, which is a blend of vinyl and masonite, would be replaced with hardy board. The windows, which are currently a mix of vinyl and wood, would be fully replaced with wood windows. Details of the proposed materials are attached. The windows appear to match the mutton patterns currently on the home. The property is situated along Glen Avenue in the northwest quadrant of Somerville. Properties along Glen Avenue are generally characterized by medium-sized homes and lots. The project broadly conforms to applicable Somerville design guidelines, and the property is zoned R1. That's one family residential. There are no zoning issues presented by this petition. Comment provided on the petition from Historic Augusta. According to tax records, this house was built in 1942, but it appears to have had later alterations. Currently, it has a mixture of synthetic siding materials. Replacing the current siding with other synthetic materials, such as hardy plank, would be acceptable since wood siding is not present. The applicant states that the existing windows are a mixture of wood and vinyl, but does not indicate which are which, nor whether the existing windows are original to the house or replacements. If it is determined that there are no original windows, the proposed new windows will comply with the Somerville design guidelines. See pages 75 to 78. And staff is at this time recommending approval of the petition subject to any conditions as this commission deems appropriate. That concludes presentation.
Is the applicant present? Would you step forward, please? And when you go to this, make sure you speak into the microphone so we can hear you and so they can hear you upstairs.
Hello.
Do you have anything to add to the presentation?
None of the windows on the house are original. If you would go back to the picture of the front of the house, the left-hand side of the house on the driveway side, all of those windows are vinyl. The rest of the windows on the house are wood, and to my general contractor's best guess, were installed in the 70s, but none of them are original to the house.
Have anything else to add other than?
I don't believe so.
Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to address this issue? Going once? Going twice? Commissioners, do you have any questions of the petitioner? Okay. Do I have one getting ready to ask? Go ahead.
Do we have any photographs of the windows that are in place right now, just for record?
I don't know that I have any close-up photos of individual windows, but I'll be happy to provide them.
How bad are the wood windows?
Wood windows are in pretty bad shape, pretty heavily rotten. I've got some leaking around the ones on the back side of the house.
There should be some additional photos in your packets if you want to take a look at those.
Wood windows.
Are the new windows all vinyl? Are they
They're all wood.
all wood? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further comments from the commission? Okay.
Chairman,
Mr. Chair-
Mr. Chairman, since he indicated all wood, he definitely has my vote.
All right.
Yeah, talk about all wood, yeah.
All right. Well, I entertain a motion to deny.
Make a motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All right, have properly motioned and proper second. All in favor, raise your hand.
I have all in favor of the motion, and the motion carries.
Sir, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, we'll take the next applicant.
All right, agenda item number 2, COA 2523. This is a petition by Wesley Scott of Scott's Woodworks on behalf of Knox Foundation for a certificate of appropriateness at 1301, 1325, 1327, and 1331 Green Street, located within the Downtown Historic District. The request is to install iron fencing with gates to surround a parking lot. So you can see here some photos of the property. This is the Sacred Heart property and their parking lot along Green Street. Here's a photo of some existing fencing on the property and the new fencing designed to match that, and the perimeter around which the new fencing will be installed. You can see there. All right. This property comprises a block bounded by Ellis, 13th, and Green Street, and is home to Sacred Heart Cultural Center, which opened as Sacred Heart Catholic Church in 1900. There is also a smaller office building on the property, which dates to 1890. There have been no recent petitions brought to the HPC regarding this property. The petitioner is requesting approval to erect new iron fencing around the parking lot, which serves both Sacred Heart and the office building. The fence would not extend around the entire block or in front of either building. A gate would be included in the design, which would maintain the same design as the fence and slide parallel open and closed. The property is situated along Green Street at the western boundary of the Downtown Historic District. Sacred Heart faces the edge of the John C. Calhoun Expressway. The project broadly conforms to applicable downtown design guidelines, and the property is zoned B2 general business. There are no zoning issues presented by this petition. Comments provided for this petition by Historic Augusta. The proposed fence pattern matches the existing pattern in front of the Raymond James Building on the west side of the Sacred Heart Cultural Center. It is therefore not only appropriate but desirable to extend the fence around the perimeter of the property to enclose the parking lot, which will better define the property. See Downtown Design Guidelines, page 28 for fencing. At this time, staff is recommending approval of the petition, subject to any conditions as you deem appropriate. That concludes the presentation.
Is the applicant present? Would you please step to the podium and please speak into the microphone? Give me your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Wolfgang Davis on behalf of Wesley Scott. My personal address is 417 Bosquet Street, Edgefield, South Carolina. As far as adding anything, it's purely to cut down on foot traffic and to make the employees of Sacred Heart and Raymond James more comfortable in the parking lot.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience have any comments on this particular COA? Going once, going twice. Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
You're going to put a gate in,
Yes, sir.
and is that facing Green Street?
I do not have that in the plans I was given currently.
Okay. If you take, is the screen working?
I believe it will be facing Green Street, yes, sir.
Okay. You've got one on the backside too, that's right behind Curtis Baptist School there on Ellis.
Yes, sir.
Is that going to also have a gate? Because it didn't show a line going across that opening.
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Any further questions? All right. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have properly motion and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor. The motion carries.
Motion.
Thank you all for your time.
All right, Ryan, our third COA.
All right. Item number 3, COA 2524. This is a petition by Barry Smith on behalf of William S. Morris IV for a certificate of appropriateness at 2120 Gardner Street, located within the Somerville Historic District. The request is to replace an asphalt shingle roof with Spanish barrel tile roofing. Here are some photos of the home on Gardner Street. It has taken some storm damage. And here's a look at the Spanish barrel tile, which will be used in the roofing replacement. You also have a sample of that roofing up there if you want to distribute that around. All right. This is a 1.26 acre property bounded by Gardner Street, Gary Street, and Battle Row. It features a 3,371 square foot home dating per property records to 1898. In October 2024, the HPC granted approval for an addition to the home. That's item COA 2443. The petitioner is requesting approval to replace shingle roofing on the home with Spanish barrel tile roofing. A sample photo of the material is attached with this report. This would give the roof similar character to the adjacent home at 704 Millage Road. Land use in this area is predominantly one-family residential. Lot sizes vary, with larger lots to the west of this property along Millage Road and smaller lots to the south and east. On page 52 of the Somerville Design Guidelines, the following guidance is offered regarding roofs. When replacing a roof, match original materials as closely as possible. When the exact material is not available, attempt to match pattern, color, and size as closely as possible. The petitioner has requested a change to the roofing material, although it is not likely that the current shingles are original to the home. Spanish barrel tile, similar to terracotta, while not explicitly noted in the Somerville Design Guidelines, is a common roofing style in the district and aligns with neighboring property at 704 Millage. The property is zoned R1, one-family residential, and there are no zoning issues presented by this petition. Comments from Historic Augusta on this petition. They write, this house was originally built as a garage apartment behind 704 Millage Road. Sanborn and cadastral maps indicate it originally had a wood shingle roof. The main house at 704 Millage Road had a tile roof. using similar material like that proposed, Brava Spanish barrel lightweight terracotta, would be appropriate and meet the Somerville design guidelines. See pages 81 to 82. At this time, staff recommend approval subject to any conditions as the commission deems appropriate. And that concludes presentation.
Is the applicant present? Please state your name and address.
I'm David Watkins, representing Mr. Morris. I live at 321 Hackamore Trail, Martinez, Georgia, 30907. As stated, they need to replace and repair the roof. They feel that the roof structure can't support actual terracotta tile, and they want to match the existing house on the property. And so that's why they want to go with this, because it's significant lower weight than, real terracotta tile. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
I have one question. Can you put these two together so I know what it looks, how it would appear to, when you put it on the roof, how the spacing would be? All right, okay. Now, when we stack it, what would it look like? I got it. Okay, thank you. Any, do we have any comments from anyone in the audience? Going once, going twice. I got ahead of myself. Do we have any comments from the commission? All right, hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept or deny.
I make a motion that we approve.
I second.
I have a proper motion and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor. The motion carries.
Mr.
Duly noted.
Okay, Ryan, next COA.
All right, our fourth item for consideration, COA 2525. This is a petition by Tico Roofing on behalf of Keith Beckman for a certificate of appropriateness at 344 Broad Street, located within the Old Town Historic District. The request is to replace shingle roofing on the top elevation of the home with metal roofing. Here you can see some photos of the property on Broad Street. Here is the previous shingle material that was on the home at 344 Broad, and a sample of the new roofing material, which is also up there on the dais for passing around. We'll go back to all this as needed. This property is located along the south side of Broad Street, just to the east of 4th Street. It features a 2,624 square foot home dating originally to 1927. There have been no recent petitions brought to the HPC regarding this property. The petitioner is requesting approval to replace the shingle roof over the top level of the home with a metal roof. The roof covering the front porch would remain a shingle roof. A sample of the metal material was provided to staff. It shows ribs in each panel, but does not indicate any exposed screws. Upon visiting the site, staff learned that the roof had already been installed. The property is situated in the 300 block of Broad Street, near the separation between Old Town and Downtown. The majority of roofs in this block are shingle, with a minority of metal roofs. Old Town design guidelines prescribe that the preferred approach is to replace only the deteriorated roof portion in kind by matching the original feature in design, dimension, detail, color, and material. While this is a partial and not a total roofing replacement, the new roof has diverged from the previous material on 4 of those 5 qualities listed. The property is zoned P1, that's professional and office zoning. There are no zoning issues presented by the petition. Use of the property as a residence is a legal nonconformity. Comments from Historic Augusta. It appears that this roofing had already been changed from asphalt shingles to metal. Sanborn and cadastral maps from 1923 and 1939 indicate this house originally had composition shingles, but obviously not the same roof shown in the application. Early 20th century composition shingles were often diamond patterned, but existing documentation does not indicate the original appearance. Roofs for residential rehabilitation are covered in the Old Town Design Guidelines on pages 62 to 64. Item 3 states, when compatible substitute materials are necessary, match original materials as closely as possible. The substitute material should match the pattern, color, texture, size, lap, thickness, and reflectivity of the original material as closely as possible. In the case of a replacement roof, the original roof form, soffit, cornice, cresting, ridge poles, and historic gutters should be retained. Ideally, metal replacement roofing should be flat panels between 12 and 16 inches wide and no wider than the existing panels. The rib height should be about 1.5 inches tall, and the surface of the panels should be smooth and not striated. The chosen material marks a serious change of character from the previous roof, and the metal chosen does not align with qualities of historic metal roofs. Staff, therefore, would recommend that the commission deny this petition and would further recommend that the owner or their designee submit a COA application to Planning and Development no later than July 31st to request removal of the metal roof that has been installed and to request installation of either architectural shingles or a standing seam metal roof for consideration. That concludes staff presentation.
Is the applicant present? Would you step forward, state your name, address, and speak into the microphone?
Thank you. I'm Keith Beckman. I live at 344 Broad, Augusta, Georgia, 30901.
Do you have anything to add? Is there, on the recommendations from Historic Augusta, have you discussed these with Planning Department?
Yeah, so really I was taken advantage of by a previous contractor when I needed to replace the roof due to damage from the hurricane. And the previous contractor was Frank Jordan, and Tico Roofing has very graciously stepped up. To try picking up the pieces from what Frank did. So he came recommended from multiple other people down in Old Town. He's done work down there. So when he told me that this roofing material he had already gotten approved, I believed him. And quite frankly, I don't have money to replace it again. My insurance only covered about $6,000 of the previous roof because it was a 20-year-old 3-tab roof put on by the previous owner. I put this roof on because I did believe that I was preserving the historic character of the home. That is one of the things I really care about. Since I moved in there, I've learned as much as I could. And Martha Wall Andrews was the architect that built it. And when I was getting this roof put on, what I told Frank was that I wanted something that would still be, that would keep the house still standing in 100 years so that the ghost of Martha Wall Andrews would be able to look up at it and say, I built that. I do recognize that I shouldn't have just taken his word for it. I did not find out until the roof was done that he didn't have a permit when I couldn't get the permit for my insurance company. And I can't afford another new car's worth of roof right now. And I realize I messed up by trusting him, and I really hope that the commission can have some mercy here.
Audience that would like to speak to this issue? Going once? Going twice? Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions to the applicant?
You said you asked for the permit for your insurance company?
Yeah, the insurance company needed the permit to demonstrate that I had gotten the roof repaired after the hurricane.
So was there any issue with them not reimbursing you or not paying because of a lack of a permit at all?
They sent the check right away.
Okay.
It wasn't much, they prorated it, but yeah, I got the check a couple weeks after the hurricane.
Yeah. But Mr. Jordan led you to believe that there was a permit in place?
Yes, he told me that there was a permit, and I specifically asked about the COA, and he said that he got this roofing material approved. I now know that's not how it works, and I feel really dumb. But he told me that he took care of the permit and approving the material.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question. I'm just a little confused about the roof that was on before you put this roof on. So technically, this is the third roof that?
Probably more than that. This roof was put on, when I bought the house, it was listed as having been put on, I think in 2004.
Okay.
It was put on by the previous owner, Shanaz Shabani.
Okay, and so what kind, there was originally an asphalt roof?
Yeah, it was, as in when I bought the house?
Yes.
Yes, it was asphalt shingles.
And then when you replaced the damaged part of the roof, or when the roof was damaged, then what was placed on it?
Metal. Well, I got it patched briefly with some asphalt shingles in November while we waited for the roofing material to come in so that there wouldn't be further water ingress, because I was getting some water damage inside the plaster.
Okay. All right, maybe I misheard, because it seems like you had a roof on and then you put another roof on.
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
No. I'm just, I know the recommendation was that I remove the metal roof and put another one on.
Okay, that's what you were talking about. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do we have any further questions?
I have a question for Sam.
Yes.
In a case like this, is there ever any recourse on behalf of the owner?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, could the contractor be made to undo it and put the correct roofing on since he purposely misled him?
Yes.
Is there any way that we can play a part in that or no?
Yes.
How so?
So I'm going to give a whole lot of legal advice very quickly. So what we've heard today is direct fraud. And it depends on the contract that I forget his name, that this individual signed with his roofer as to what the circumstances around the fraud could be. Affirming that you're in a historic district and that you're doing all the work for historic stuff and pulling the proper permits and doing whatever, and turns out that that's not true, that would be sufficient for I just don't know what the liability on the contractor is pursuant to the agreement. It could be that if this individual got a lawyer, that he could, through Superior Court, get all of his money back, get the contractor to do it, or through a lawyer, settle with the contractor to agree to come back here, get the proper COA, and then and then come back here, get the proper COA, then go back and replace the, put the right material on the roof, that would be a mix of, this entity could issue a citation to the roofer for aiding and abetting a violation by fraudulent. As a prosecutor, putting on the prosecutor hat, you could cite the roofer for aiding and abetting based on the probable cause that's before you, based on his statement that he was defrauded by the other individual, by the roofer, for saying, "Oh, I have the permits and this is an approved material in this district." But without the contract in hand, it's hard for me to conclusively prove what he can or cannot do. But I know Superior Court judges in this community would be very annoyed to see a case come up before them where someone defrauded a roofer and then HPC came and said, well, this situation, the Superior Court judges would likely hold the roofer to their position. And I'll draw the parallel. Even a sophisticated actor such as Mr. Edge was genuinely led to believe that his roofer had pulled a permit, and that hadn't been done. So y'all have plenty of information to sort of say we're going to cite the roofer here. We're going to tell this individual to go get a lawyer. Submit the contract. So there's a lot of different ways to get to bringing the roofer before somebody to hold them to account.
Okay. Well, I don't want to put any more further burden on the homeowner. Was it all word of mouth that he took? Was there a contract that stated that he did pull a permit and that he did have a COA?
He did not write that on the contract. It's one of those handyman contracts that's basically letterhead with a bunch of lines that he hand wrote. So no, this was all word of mouth. He told me. We had several conversations about it because I first asked in November after the patching was done to stop the leak. And he said that when he recommended this particular roofing material to me, I asked if it was compliant with historic guidelines, if we would need to file a COA, and he said this was already pre-approved. And then I asked him about the permit then, and he said, well, I'm paraphrasing because it was a long time ago, but he basically said, permits expire, we'll pull that the week before. And then before the work started, I asked him, and he said, yeah, we got the permit. But I don't have any of that in writing, unfortunately.
Okay. That answers that part of it. I don't want to put any further burden on him. How can we deny it but not enforce that he replaced the roof, just for our record? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, so you can't order him to replace the roof because that's a Superior Court only injunction kind of a thing. So you can deny the permit with an extra condition that you're waiving the sort of 6-month return prohibition. So he could come and you could and the fee for the next application. So you could do that so that the next application is free and that 6-month waiting period, assuming that he would have to wait, he probably wouldn't, because obviously it would be very different from this application. But you could do that anyways and add that onto the thing so that he comes back with all that extra, you having already made those decisions, and then you can come back and say, well, here's the contract, here's the details of the fraudulent inducement, here's everything else, here's the work that I've worked out with the roofer, but I mean, the scale that we're talking about, he'll have to get a lawyer and go to Superior Court.
Okay.
So is there any recourse as far as the contractor's license?
Yes. What you would do, what HPC could do on its next meeting is, vote to request that the business license of the roofer be pulled by the full commission based on what we're hearing here. So you would have to have a vote. Actually, you could have that vote today, I think. I think that based on what you're seeing today and whatever, and because it's not an authority thing, it's a letter, right, on HPC letterhead. Dear Commission, we are requesting that the roofer known as X, Y, and Z be brought before the commission on a revocation on a business license. We received notice that based on a fraudulent inducement and whatever, that someone put the incorrect roof for Broad Street. We're working with this individual to try and correct that, but in the meantime, we would ask that the commission hold this roofer to account and prohibit them from continuing to operate within Richmond County, blah, 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 blah. And you could, if that was a motion, you could make that motion and have it voted. That message would be put on, you would send that message up to a commissioner. It would be up to the commission, the big commission, to actually put it on their committee agenda for consideration. We would have to do the 5-day notice for all that other stuff. But all of that could be done. Again, it would be the commission's authority about whether or not to revoke for someone for business license. But there is a mechanism because we have a clear violation of law. And what we basically understand is a fraudulent inducement to that violation of law. So you can move it forward in that way.
We don't have to do that tonight. We could
No.
think about it and do it at a future meeting. Okay.
I have a question also in that regard. Was this person licensed?
So that's what I was raising my hand about. What he admitted to after I told him a new one for not getting the permit, he said he couldn't pull a permit because he had let his contracting license lapse and he only has a painting license. Wow. So that is why I did not want to work with him anymore and why, like I said, having Tico Roofing is helping me out with getting the permit because I do not want Frank Jordan touching my house again. But no, I did not know that, and he admitted it when I confronted him, when I discovered on the planning site that there was no permit when I tried downloading it.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
But the roofing at this point is already done at any rate.
The roofing is completed. It obviously, since there wasn't a permit, it hasn't been inspected yet. But in the last rain, we had nothing got in. I don't think my house is in imminent danger, but I also don't have a lot of faith in it until it's been inspected. But the roof is done, yes.
So I have a question. Since he said by his statement that the roofer did not even have a contractor's license, how would that affect if we wanted to pull his business license since he's already operating outside of the ramifications of his license currently? What are...
My thinking is that Judge Brown and Judge Williamson or Judge Merzlach or Judge Allen in Mag Court have a jail cell for this guy.
Okay.
That's if I had to guess, if Judge Williamson or Judge, I'm not them, so they make their own sentences, but I would tell that guy that I have names for that guy to hire for his criminal case.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioners?
So how are we supposed to make this motion? So if we, obviously I know why the city made the recommendation that's in front of us, because it's a non-conforming roof. It's not the metal that we would approve due to it being more of an agricultural panel. We obviously don't want to put the burden on the owner. How do we make a motion on this where he can go to the next steps of making sure it's inspected, getting all the paperwork correct for his insurance company, but then also, if we approve it, would that look wrong in court, saying that we have approved the metal panel, we're okay with it, when we're not?
So to be quite, it really depends on who's in the courtroom. To that last part, it really depends on who's in the courtroom talking to the judge at the moment. The judges are very busy, and so they're not going to read. When you say we're approving under extraordinary circumstances due to fraudulent inducement and criminal activity, and so this is a very clearly extraordinary circumstance. We don't, and this approval, even though we know it's non-precedential, and we're going to say it also that it's non-precedential. Alternatively, you could deny with conditions. You could approve, but demand that particular language attached to the approval. I guess the question is really, where do you want to go in terms of, is this the right roofing material? Or are we changing the roofing material? That I don't know which way the commission wants to go.
I guess one of my thoughts, just when I want to ask you, let's say, obviously, we would want to see an appropriate material in this house. Due to Historic Augusta's research, which is always awesome for us, this was originally a shingle roof. So we would like to see that, and that's typically what we would approve. I don't know how, let's say something, he goes to court and he can't get it paid for by the subcontractor who did it. Does the burden then fall back on him to replace it? Where I still feel like, based on what we understand, I still don't feel like that burden should fall on him.
Ultimately, I totally understand what you're saying. Commissioner, ultimately, in order to get what you're looking for, you got to approve it. Okay. In order to make sure that the homeowner is utterly free from further, this does not mean that he doesn't have he doesn't have a case, and that this doesn't mean that his remedies aren't, that he can't go back to the roofer and pursue every remedy that I've previously discussed. But in order to guarantee, because that's what you're looking for, you want to guarantee. In order to guarantee that it won't eventually fall back on the homeowner, you'll have to approve it.
But we can, in your words, approve, but under extraordinary circumstances due to fraudulent inducement and criminal activity.
Yes.
And then we just, in good faith, put it back on him that say, okay, if you feel like going after this, we would rather.
Right, and yes.
Do we have a motion, gentlemen? Ladies?
A motion to approve under extraordinary circumstances due to fraudulent inducement and criminal activity.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor of the motion. The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, our fifth agenda item tonight, COA 2526. This is a petition by Renewal by Anderson on behalf of David Sandlin for a certificate of appropriateness at 2511 Bellevue Avenue, located within the Somerville Historic District. The request is to replace the windows on the home. Here you could see the home on Bellevue Avenue. You can see the windows there. Look at each side of the home. And the materials submitted by the petitioner detailing the proposed replacement. And we'll go back to this as needed. All right, this property is situated along the north side of Bellevue Avenue between Montesano and Arsenal Avenue. It features a 1,920 square foot home, originally built in 1926. There have been no recent petitions brought to the HPC regarding this property. The petitioner is requesting approval on behalf of the owner to replace 6 windows on the home. Per the materials provided with the application, current windows are not original to the home and are framed either with wood or with vinyl. Full details of each replacement window are attached with this report. The proposed Fibrex windows match the current windows in muntin pattern, with the exception of one at the first floor living room. The property is situated along Bellevue Avenue in western Somerville, just west of the Augusta University campus. This area of Somerville mixes university buildings, churches, single-family detached homes, condominiums, and townhomes. The project generally conforms to applicable Somerville design guidelines, and the property is zoned R1, one-family residential. There are no zoning issues presented by the petition. Comments from Historic Augusta: replacing windows that are not original is acceptable, and the proposed product will meet the Somerville design guidelines. We do, however, recommend choosing an original muntin pattern, using it consistently with all replacement windows, such as the 8/1 double-hung sash window indicated as 107 in the application, or the 4/1 double-hung sash shown in the photos on the side elevation. The casement windows identified as 101, 102, 103, and 104 on the second floor are an inappropriate design for this craftsman-style house. We recommend that this range of windows should be installed as 4 individual windows and not 2 double units. If historic photos are available, we suggest matching the original light patterns in their original locations. Staff recommendation at this time: while the HPC is not bound by precedent, it has approved Fibrex and comparable materials for previous window replacement requests. Staff has concern with the altered design of the living room window, window 107 in the attached materials. Therefore, staff recommendation is for the commission to approve a replacement of 5 windows denoted on the attached materials as 101 to 105. Window 107 would then be revised and resubmitted to staff with a muntin design closer in appearance to the current window. This would be given final approval by designee of the Historic Preservation Commission in collaboration with staff. That concludes presentation.
Is the commissioner present, applicant present? Would y'all step forward to the microphone, state your name, address? And please speak into the microphone.
My name is Carolyn DeLong. I'm with Renewal by Anderson. I am the one that will be helping with the replacement of the windows. I live at 901 Orange Street, Vidalia, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Jeff Sandlin. I live at 2511 Bellevue Avenue at the address with my 83-year-old father here. And so coming in and happy to answer any questions we can.
Do you have anything to add?
Not really. In the picture there, the 101, 102, 103, 104 were originally replaced sometime during the 80s right there. The window was basically like that, but all the casing had rotten out when those had gotten replaced by Anderson windows at the time. Now none of them open. They're all stuck shut. Every twist knob at the bottom is broken. You can't really get out onto that roof right out there, as I've tried to do in the past. I ended up having to get a ladder to try to push them shut from the outside, so we're looking to replace those. 105 is a vinyl window right there that's in the bathroom. There's all the springs are sprung on there. The window does not stay open any longer. 107 is looking to be replaced. It's at the bottom of a stairwell coming down. My father fell back on December 20th of 2024. He is now turned into a fall risk, as we now with a walker right here, and with it being at the bottom of the stairs, we have a home health care that comes by. We have physical therapy, occupational therapy, and the nurse, and they have recommended replacing that plate glass windows with something that won't shatter and cut him if he trips and falls coming down those stairs. The full bath is only upstairs, so it does put us in a situation of up and down these stairs.
That window at the bottom of the steps is one piece, does not have any munchkins in it. All the windows in our house do not have any munchkins. There are 21 windows, and none of them have munchkins at the bottom. Or whatever you call it.
Kind of see that on that window 105 right there to the right, the one going up the stairs, how the bottom does not have any of that.
Only replacing the 6 of them.
And I'm used to being corrected by him.
I understand fathers and sons, okay? Does anyone in the audience have a statement to make or concerning this application? All right, going once, going twice. Okay. Commissioners, you have further questions or statements or conditions that you'd like to address?
With the Anderson renewal, window 107, with this product, can you do an 8/1? You can?
Yes, we can.
Were originally wooden, that's one. It only had one steel rod that you would push them out, screw it in place. And that separate windows.
This question for Eric Montgomery or Rob Malden regarding windows 101 through 104. What design would you suggest that would be appropriate in replacing those?
Please state your name and address.
Rob Malden, 529 Green Street, Augusta, Georgia. What we had recommended was that they match the muntin patterns on these side windows on the front. And we believe with this style house, the actual alignment should not be a vertical sash as it's shown, as it was replaced with the Anderson windows before that he mentioned that are now failing. So that ends up matching the other windows, both downstairs and upstairs throughout the house. So it's certainly a product that Renewal provides and can do, just like the lower one. They're a little taller, but there's other windows that are the same height. So that becomes a consistent theme throughout the house, and that's based on the guidelines as well. So the design guidelines recommend that there's consistent muntin pattern. There were options listed because there are multiple muntin patterns on the house, but the 8/1 is the larger window configuration. So that's our recommendation, that a double hung window, still operable, still allows egress out of a window on a bedroom, and that actually would be safer than these that are locked up and not functional in our casement. These are basically casement out-swinging windows, and as was noted, they tend to jam, or the operators are harder to get going. Plus, you have to remove screens. If they're operable, you end up with screens that you got to remove to open the window and egress to a safety. So that's a code requirement.
One more time. Look at the side.
One there in the middle of the floor.
Of the house was one window and a side. Lock it in place. Brent built the house. Solid on the outside. Just solid. You can't.
If I may say something as well, just for some clarification, both the double hung windows that were made a mention of and the casement windows both have the same screens for the windows. Only difference is that the screen on the casement windows are on the interior of the house versus on the exterior of the house. I do have both sample windows in my vehicle I can bring up in about 5 minutes if you'd like to see both options. But there is an increase in cost to the homeowner to switch them over to the double hung windows in comparison to the casement windows.
How much of a cost difference does that incur?
Several thousand.
Point as
Like for like.
initial, we have not changed.
And the only thing, and it actually is my fault, is the grid pattern on 107. I actually did not catch that there was a grid on that top sash. It is something I can add to the project, and I'm willing to eat the cost on that for our side, for the grill on the bottom 107 window. But for the rest of them, they would be like for like as what they are right now.
Eric, step forward.
Yes, I'm Eric Montgomery, Historic Augusta, 415 7th Street. Just from an aesthetic point of view, if you're going with an 8/1 on that underneath the porch, you see symmetrically the double window above it kind of balances that as the one on the left balances the 8/1, the one on the right balances the above are those French doors. So if you did the double windows 4/1 for each part, you'd essentially have an 8/1 window. So that would match. So you could do the 8/1 downstairs and the 4/1 on the 4 windows above, then that would be 8/1 total, even though the bottom is split. It's just something I thought you should consider. It's helpful to look at these bigger pictures than what we were looking at.
Just one note, we are missing 3 shutters right there from the storm that have not been replaced yet. Did you see the one up there? If you look on the, You can't quite see it laying against the fence there on the left side, but that's where the other three are stacked at currently.
Add good to ma'am from Anderson Windows, what?
One last thing, there is an alternative that we can suggest, and we can put mock check rails on the casement windows where it's going to give the appearance of double hung windows, but it still has the operation, and we can also add the grids into the windows. The increased cost would be about maybe $1,600 for all 4 of those to be done that way, but it would be significantly cheaper than having all of them switched over to double hung windows for the homeowner, just as an alternative idea.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say what she beat me to. I should have said that too. That you still would have the appearance if you just put the grid pattern into the casement windows. It would kind of look the same, and that's mainly what we're going for here, I think.
Would that be a problem? What Eric was talking about?
We could put the lines on there. Again, it would be at an additional cost to the homeowner,
Do you have an estimate about the cost for that?
about $1,600.
$1,600, that's what she's talking about? Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any further questions? Discussion?
How does the homeowner feel about that extra cost?
I mean, I would prefer not incur it right there. Of course, it's already about, what, 20 right there? And so to get these things back operational right there. And so, I mean, if I have a choice, of course, that was not my first choice right there. Is, you know, we've been in there since the late 70s, and this has been the look since the late 70s right here that I know we've been in there.
You gonna say something?
He asked the question. That's what I was going to.
Gentlemen, ladies, do we have any further comments, statements? Do we have a motion?
So for $1,600, all the windows would be in compliance with the appearance we're looking for, I guess. Is that correct?
They would remain as the casement windows, but we would be able to put mock check rails going across each casement window to give the appearance of what you guys are looking for on here.
But that would let you do all the windows that they want to do, I think, right? As opposed to the one that was being excluded before. Thanks.
And so if the changes were made, I don't know who to address this to, but if those changes were made, that doesn't mean they have to return to do another COA. We could just approve it tonight if, okay, all right.
And not to beat this into the ground, the current casement windows, what are they made of?
You look at them more than me.
The current casement windows are wood.
Wood, okay. So we're going from wood to composite.
Correct. It's a 60-40 between a wood composite and a polymer, where the polymer encasement.
So we're not really going like to like, we are changing.
Yes, if you're looking at the exact material, that would be correct.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve with adding the grids represented by the window company so that they are in compliance with the guidelines.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right, we have a motion. All in favor, say, or raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor. The motion carries with that condition.
Thank you. Okay. Ryan, you go to skip number 6 and go to 7, correct?
I'm going to present that one for you all today.
Ooh.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
COA 25-28 is a petition by SH Investment Group LLC for a certificate of appropriateness at 802 Green Street. It is located within the downtown historic district, and this request is to remove the skylight and seal the dome of the church. If you'll look at page 89 in your packet, that is the emphasis or the focus of today's application. So this is a .46 acre property located at the southwest corner of Green and 8th Street. It is situated on the property that is formerly the home of the First Baptist Church of Augusta, Georgia. It was originally built in 1902, but the building has largely been abandoned since the early 2000s. The petitioner is requesting approval to have a steeplejack remove the skylight on top of the building. This would allow the dome to be sealed in order to prevent further water penetration. The opening would be sealed with wood and covered with a white TPO roofing material. And if you need an example of that, I brought that for those who may not be familiar with it. A picture of it, sorry. The surrounding properties in that area are a mix of office space, residential structures, and several churches. As it pertains to the guidelines for the downtown area, the mothballing section in pages 48 through 49 of the design guidelines state that a secure roof is the most important protection the building needs. To this end, the proposal would conform with the guidelines. We consulted Historic Augusta, and in regards to their comments, I have them here, and it was that this is a decent stopgap measure. The cap on the dome is not original, as indicated in the application. It is not even the original design, which was rounded off. The previous owner put it up and covered it with fiberglass panels, which were not suitable for that purpose. Many of the panels have blown off over the years, and we have found that a couple of them on the ground. Sealing up this hole will help to stop with the water infiltration and be part of what is needed to mothballing the building. Given the information presented, Planning and Development staff is recommending approval of the proposal, and I can answer any questions you might have. I did want to let you all know that the applicant advised us that they would not be able to be here, but they respectfully asked that you would still consider their application.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the audience care to address this issue? Please state your name.
Rob Malden, 529 Green Street, Augusta, Georgia. The main purpose, this will stop at least one of the primary issues going on with the dome and with the building. From Historic Augusta standpoint and from a general architectural standpoint, we know that there's a lot more issues to mothballing the building than this will address. And we would also ask that the commission look at specific timelines, which have not been provided with the application, just because of the history of this dragging on over decades, really, from deterioration and non-maintenance of the building. So those two issues, we know there's other roof leaks that are causing significant damage to the building, and we would encourage the applicant to pursue truly sealing all the roof defects that are in place today to stop that and to give the mothballing effort an effective result. Mothballing really is addressing the perimeter, so that includes windows, doors, openings, penetrations, scuppers, downspouts, that type of thing that can be causing continued damage to the building. That's.
Do we have questions? Yes, Leon.
I'd like to see the picture that Mr. Lane has of the material that's.
You're not familiar with what it looks like. I just did a bunch of. Have to be
Rob, I don't want to make you walk back up here, but I'm just curious, based on your experience, what is a reasonable amount of time for someone to find a contractor who's capable of doing this? Under current circumstances, when contractors are kind of hard to find as it is, how much time do you think it would take to at least start something like this?
Well, the first would be actually applying for permit beyond the COA permit process. I would say that it would be recommended that that be submitted as soon as possible, within 30 days, and that expect completion of the work within 6 months, which is in timeline with the COAs too, from a 6-month time frame. So that, I mean, this product, the other part was that they had offered to store the structure, and it's not original. So there's no reason to store that skylight or the framing immediately there. We believe there's 3 levels of framing in that dome, and the lower original dome frame is still in place, and that should be left.
I got one, Eric, I got a question. Once this is taken off and it's covered up, do you think this hole, the way it is right now, is about 50% of what water's getting into that building? Or do you think it's more?
It's the most dramatic and causing the most, I guess you'd say, floor structural damage. And obviously, we know there's at least 2 other corners that are heavily, I mean, there's a waterfall, at least 2 years ago, okay? That's the last time I saw it. And there was videos done during a rainstorm that demonstrated that water entry, not through the skylight, but elsewhere. So those areas really should be focused on in terms of whatever, it's probably a scupper through the wall, because we've seen the roof areas and they looked pretty good. They've had coatings over the metal. So it's in the wall, so to speak, or the transition of those drains. The front porch is probably the most dramatic defect that you can see from the ground, where the front coping metal, where it terminates at the edge of the front porch, is peeled back. There's missing chunks. And if it's windy, it's flapping in the wind. So those are a lot less complicated to repair. They're not damaging the interior, but it's damaging the whole front porch framing. So those areas we know of without doing an exhaustive survey. And we would suggest that inspection department needs to follow up and verify what are the other leaks going on in the building, so that it is pursuing mothballing by definition, as was outlined by.
Mr. Laney, let's go over our timeline with this and what perspective. I know that from our communications we've had, that the COA is for six months. And then, if a work permit is pulled within that 6 months, does that extend the time? I mean, what are we talking about with that as far as your department?
Okay, so a couple of things based on what's just been said. This is a phased project. It's a large undertaking, a huge undertaking. So that right now there are no contributions, no donations, no tax credits. There's no one actually putting funds into this except for one entity. So it would be cost prohibitive to do all of the repairs at one time. The mothballing, that portion that requires your approval, is the removal of the steeple. That's why we have this separate. There is the other portion of mothballing that happens. So based on the COA requirements, you have to begin work within 6 months. A building permit is good for 1 year, provided you have passed some type of inspection within that 1 year. I would not recommend anything more stringent because we don't have a precedent for that, and then it might be perceived as an unnecessary hardship. But the 6 months that already is in place would be sufficient, in my opinion.
That's not our case, but the situation here, would it be appropriate that we be updated every 90 days at our meetings of the status of the project? Is that a problem? Would that be putting that? I'm not trying to put more work on the individual. I'm just thankful that someone's making a step in the work that the department's done and working with Historic Augusta to come up with solutions to get the building mothballed and saved.
I think that's a reasonable request. I think we can send it with the disclosure for the meeting, where we give you the electronic copy of what's been approved at the staff level and provide a status on the permit for this particular COA. I think that's a reasonable request.
In other words, we could request a 90-day report back to the commission as the status of the work being produced.
Or if they pull it before, then we'll get it on the next month's meeting. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Commissioners, we have further questions. Any thoughts?
A little bit of clarity. The reason why we're having to approve this mothballing effort is because of the slight change in the top of the dome.
Right. The aesthetics will change. Yes.
Okay. Because typically mothball doesn't have to come to us.
That is correct. It does not.
Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a motion with to approve the COA and based on with the timeline from report? Do we? I can't make a motion, folks. So y'all have to craft it.
I make a motion to approve with the concession of a 90-day status report to be included.
Second.
I have a second. Yeah. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor. The motion carries.
Mr. Delaney, thank you so much for the work on this. Appreciate it. Further business?
All right. Item 8, I have on the agenda just open for any discussion of updates to the Augusta Historic Preservation Ordinance, HPC bylaws, and/or rules of procedure following up on last month's meeting. Director?
Yes, so the 4 outstanding questions that we had are going to be on the April 29th agenda so that we can get direction from the commission. That way we don't spin our wheels. They can tell us expressly what they would like and we don't have to try to interpret that. After they communicate what they would like, we will draft some text, draft text for you all to review and see how you would like to tweak it to make sure that it captures the spirit of the intent.
We don't have anything at this point other than discussion of, that you're going to draft something and bring back to us at the next.
At the closeout of the workshop, in summary, we said that we would get those 4 questions answered by the commission so that we don't write 4 or 5 iterations and then it just gets shut down, or shot down. So we had masters, we had all this stuff going on, so there hasn't been a meeting for them until April 29th to pretty much address this in depth. So that's the next available meeting.
Is that something the commission needs to be, do we need to be at that or not, or is that just the work committee?
I don't think it would hurt. I mean, this is something that you all will have to enforce, and it directly impacts you and your structure. So if your schedules would permit it, and if you have a strong feeling about any of the questions, then yes, I would recommend you be there.
What's the date of that meeting?
April 29th, 1 o'clock.
Is this another work session or are we going before the committee?
You go before the Augusta committee first.
Committee
and then
first.
The committee will make their recommendations. It'll then move to the full commission for determination. So the opportunity to dig in and get your voices heard is typically at the committee level, which is the 29th. Then the following full commission meeting is where they will make not a recommendation, but a decision, which actually gives me the ability to start writing.
Okay. Thank you. Sam?
I'm gonna weigh in here just because I think that it's better at this point, and you'll know why. There was a suggestion to move to redo the ordinance and move mediation to after the commission. So it would go from HPC, big commission, then mediation. I'm letting you know as a lawyer who does this all the time that the question then becomes, what happens after the mediation, right? And then, because what's going to end up happening is that it's going to go to the commission, the big commission. If that's how they design it, it'll go to the big commission twice. Because it'll go here, big commission, mediation, and then it'll report back to the big commission as to what to do. So there's going to be a lot of big commission activity, and then we'll be back to this model, which was originally designed because most matters, if you get a lot of people in a small room with a good mediator, things resolve. That's why this system was developed that way. You don't need a lawyer to have a mediator, and I designed a process that we didn't have to use, but I designed a process between Wayne Brown and I on a previous matter in which it could be free. Just no one asked me. It just didn't come up yet because we didn't have that many. But under the current code, you can designate the director as the mediator, and it says director or designee. So Wayne Brown and I had come up with an idea that if they said we couldn't agree on the mediator, we would default to Carla, who then designates the mediator that we want, but it comes out of our pocket. So the system that currently exists can be free. It's just not explicit that it is free. Like it explicitly says the mediation shall be borne by the appellant. But if the appellant came to us at any point and said, we don't have the money to deal with it, I would have handled it that way so that it doesn't come back to the commission as I didn't have enough money to pay for mediation and now it's a political problem. We would have resolved it at the law department so that the mediation would have gone forward, because a good mediator resolves things and then it doesn't go to the commission. It's not really it was never an effort to go around the commission. It was an effort for getting the problem solved with people in the room as soon as possible without it being a big public thing. Which sometimes wastes time, sometimes doesn't. But I found that, and that is why going to the commission first and then to mediation and then back to commission is not a really good idea, because it doesn't, once you're at the commission and you're making your political speeches, you take those political speeches to the mediation. You want to have that before, the mediation should be failing before you go and ask for the politicians to weigh in a distinct one or two manner.
At the work session, I do remember that the mayor said that he didn't think it was right for the petitioner to have to pay for the mediator. And I mean, that was his statement. He said he didn't think that was proper. But again, I've been through numerous mediations, and I didn't know this, what you just outlined, I didn't know we had.
Well, that's because we would sort of pull out that plan that's in the bottom of the file drawer when someone says, I don't have the money to pay for the mediator. And then we would say, you don't need to worry about that. Just confirm your dates. You'll be there. You don't have to pay anything. Because having worked here for 4 years, the mission was, as the mayor said, get everybody in a room, get it done, right? If $400 to $600 is holding it up, just pay the commission has spent a lot more than that on issues that don't involve, someone's own home. So we had designed this plan earlier, and it's just, and so it exists in the structure.
We just haven't used it.
We just haven't used it yet because no one said, I don't have the money to pay for the mediator. And because normally the individual who appeals, generally that's not their problem.
But making that known would diffuse that argument.
Right. So the idea is that the text says that the mediator shall be chosen by agreement of the two parties, HPC and the other one. And if a mediator cannot be chosen, it shall be the director or his or her designee. So what we decided that what would happen if that we couldn't choose because they couldn't pay, we would have Carla designate the mediator, Ray Chadwick, Neil Dickert, someone else. And then we would pay out of our own pocket because Carla's free. But the mediator that we chose, the mediator that Carla chose, would not be, right? But that would be our decision. That would be her decision to choose the designee, and that it would be unfair. And so we found a way. We found a way around the actual text, saying that the appellant needed to pay because so there's a workaround exists. We just haven't had to use it yet. But I tell you for sure that is a plan that was explicitly discussed between Wayne Brown and I related to Telfair Street and getting the Leiden case resolved with Ray Chadwick. That we were using Ray Chadwick, and if they refused to use Ray Chadwick, we was going to go to Carla, and then we were going to pay for Ray Chadwick. And so, but that actually applies to any other mediator in any other situation. From my perspective, the appeal process is working quite well for what it's being used for.
And during my tenure, which feels like about 30 years at this point, I don't remember that many cases going to mediation. And it seems like we're fixing a problem that doesn't really exist. And it seems like it could be perceived as a fast track from someone going straight to us to the commission to get a quick approval from them. I don't know. That's just my take on it. I don't think it's been a real problem. I've known of very few cases that have gone to mediation in the past 3 or 4 years.
Right. There hasn't been. And the big one that did go to mediation, which was the Atlanta Gaslight Church, actually worked out. A church was moved across the street to resolve the COA issue, and that was resolved at mediation. And I think that, and from my perspective, that's a demonstration of why mediation and where mediation is in the process is actually produced a good result. We saved the church. And that was designed at mediation, not at any sort of commission level sort of discussion.
That's correct. I was on the mediation team.
And so that's why I would say that that changing where mediation is in the process does the success that we've had through the mediation process a little bit of a disservice.
Mr. Delaney, do you have any feedback from the mayor or the commission on any of that about the mediation thing other than what was stated at that work session?
No, sir. The interest in regards to changing the appeals process was originated under the 2024 commissioners. So I haven't gotten any or received any new marching orders, just communicating what was last stated to me in 2024. And then based on the workshop, it was reiterated to an extent. But I think we have enough references to other municipalities where if you want to leave it the way it is, there's support for that. And if you want to change it, there's support for that also.
Thank you.
So would that be a change for what the recommendation that the attorney has? No?
I'm aware of the process. It's there to most individuals. I think the real problem is the applicants don't know that it's available to them. It's about how you interpret the ordinance. The first thing they think, and any of us, most of us with education and experience in the world think I need to have an attorney if I'm going to mediation. So, you know, we can't dispel that necessarily, but what we can say is there is an opportunity for it not to cost you. And so there could be some re-education that happens to let them know.
So right now, our commission doesn't know that.
It's clear.
Right.
It's clearly stated in the ordinance.
I mean, so you know, as an attorney, as someone who people come to and ask for questions like you're asking now, there's a little bit of an assumption that I have magic, or that I do magic, and I don't. I just have a state-granted monopoly. You know, that's it. That's all. I went to school and I passed some courses. There are a lot of people. I mean, the example that I give is like, did Joe Edge go to law school? Because his cross-examination was excellent. That hearing night, if he's not a trial lawyer, he should be. And so what I mean to say is that you don't need a lawyer to do a lot of the work that lawyers do. It's just a matter of training and experience and using the right words. But again, you bring some experts in when you need them, but sometimes experts cost too much, and you just got to wing it. And so, you know, it's a mix of how comfortable you feel. I think that, I mean, again, right, there is a weird technical, legal, I mean, this is a complicated process by its very nature. So yeah, a lot of people would want a lawyer, but it's the difference of explicitly needing one versus it being a good idea to have one, versus if you don't want to get one and you don't want to, the law department will cover sort of the heavy lifting so that we get you to the place where you feel comfortable talking in the mediation room with the HBC, because our interest in the law department is that this doesn't go to the commission. Because everything that ends up in the commission becomes significantly more complicated and the risks become much higher, right? At mediation, if we can resolve it, it's a low risk proposition, and everyone walks away with an agreement that they agreed to rather than one that was imposed on them, which is always a better outcome.
But Sam,
is there any other questions?
For some reason, though, I feel that our present commission feels that our mediation process is that we like the client, we're eating the client up, you know?
I think that's, you know, again, a
we're
lot
being
of
hard on them, right? Doing mediation, they don't, yeah.
So there's two elements here. One is that I think that there was a confusion as to that giving someone really, really important due process protections made it look a lot like a trial, and therefore it was interpreted as a negative, right? The reason that it looked like the reason that trials look the way that they do is because that's what we've sort of developed as an American judicial system, to give everybody the opportunity to have a bite at the evidence, to ask questions about the evidence, to do all those sorts of things. And the second thing I think is that, you know, there's a give and take about a group's involvement in a process, right? Takes time, takes administrative energy, takes money, right? So the idea is like, well, do we want to get really involved in the process? Well, we only want to get involved in the processes that matter to us, but how do we select? And the appeals process is that selection through the fact that we're trying our best to resolve it before it gets to sort of the highest level of government that we have in the county. And that can be interpreted as a good thing. That is to say, we're saving the county governing body some time, effort, administrative energy by trying to resolve this below. Or it's a bad thing in that the highest governing body doesn't have a chance to weigh in. these are trade-offs of any political system. And, you know, Planning Commission could be a completely independent body that makes the amendment rezonings without it going to the full commission for vote. It's the choice of our system that the Planning Commission is only a recommending body instead of a fully legislative body. And it could be chosen, you know, BZA does variances. It doesn't have to. Variances could be a totally different, we could be dealing with variances in a totally different process, or they could be a recommending body. And then it goes up to the, like, there's no reason that the BZA is a final say in variances. So, right, people make selections. All of those selections, we assume that they are, we assume that it's because of a reason, that it was intentional, and sometimes it ain't. Or sometimes it was because of a particular incident of which we don't exactly know all the details of that history.
Any other questions? Do we have one item left?
Yes, all right. Item 9, approval of minutes from the March 27th meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Have a
Mr.
second?
Chairman.
Second. I have a motion second. All in favor, raise your hand.
I have all commissioners in favor. Motion carries.
Any other items on the agenda?
Staff approved COAs are provided as information. And item 11, legal session. Attorney Meller.
The district attorney has offered me a job and I have accepted. And this will be my last meeting. So I thank you, everybody. And I'll be at the Cotton Ball by the bar if you want to chat. I have nothing for the legal session.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Wow.
Without any further business, we adjourn. Any objections? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Does anyone need any copies of the ordinances for downtown Somerville or the Old Town? I just want to make sure that everybody has the supplies that they need. Does anybody need them?
I need downtown.
Downtown? Okay.
Ryan, I'm gonna keep this time.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Yeah.